Alright, what is going on YouTube? We're going to see what the drinker thinks about Deadpool and Wolverine. Now, this does look like the first actual decent thing that the MCU slash Disney will put out, probably because Ryan Reynolds feels like he's got more control and he knows what the fans want, unlike the rest of the Disney and their twat, idiot, dumb decisions that they keep making. So I'm curious to see what Critical Drinker, who's been very critical about Disney and Marvel these last few years, has to say about this. Let's check it out.
Deadpool. In a superhero genre bogged down by bloated budgets, convoluted interconnected narratives, ridiculously over-the-top visual spectacle, tedious quippy humour, and increasingly stale characters, there was one series that dared to take a very different approach. Refreshingly inventive, irreverent, self-contained, self-aware, R-rated and genuinely funny, Deadpool was an absolute breath of fresh air when it burst onto the scene back in 2016. It was a film that finally figured out how to use Ryan Reynolds to his full.
I didn't really like Deadpool 2 that much. It was alright, but it wasn't as good as the first one, man. Deadpool 2 felt like it tried a little bit too hard, and I hope this film doesn't do that. Especially with Wolverine in it, looking accurate in his yellow outfit. Just wish he could show his arms more.
Full potential, and damn man, he really went all in with this one, allowing him to play Deadpool the way he was written in the comics. Unlike, you know.
I actually kind of low-key like that
along
film.
a couple of years later, which
Right,
was.
so I didn't like Deadpool in that film.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't as fresh and innovative.
Don't get me wrong, that film sucked. But there was moments in it that were just crazy action.
As the first movie, and some of the jokes definitely started to wear thin after a while, but I think it mostly held up pretty well.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, plans for a third
good.
movie were shelved after Disney did what Disney does best, bought up 20th Century Fox so they could shamelessly exploit all the IPs under its banner.
Just like Cody Rhodes, Deadpool has to finish his story. We gotta finish his
Years
story.
went by and not a whole lot happened, and it began to seem less and less likely that Deadpool 3 would ever get made. Ryan Reynolds was getting older and superhero movies were rapidly falling out of favour. But then last year, in typical Ryan Reynolds fashion, he casually dropped the news that Deadpool 3 was finally going ahead, and even better, Hugh Jackman was going to be reprising his role as Wolverine. Now I have to admit, this seemed like good news at the time because it marked the cinematic culmination of the biggest bromance in Hollywood history and one of the few remaining team-ups to generate actual fan interest, but I couldn't shake the feeling that it might also be a bit of a poison chalice. Yeah, it was nice to see Hugh Jackman wearing the claws again, because for me, and probably a lot of other people, his Wolverine is kind of a throwback to a simpler, more innocent time in movie making, when the superhero genre was this cool and exciting new world of boundless possibilities. But after finally figuring out
That's why it's getting so hard to replace him. Like, it's time. Well, the MCU sucks now, but if it was in a good place, it would be time to replace all of these lot with like new, younger actors who can bring in like the new version of the MCU X-Men, and I'm sure they're still going to do that. You know, bring them to the MCU basically, and yeah, but it's hard to let go of people like Hugh Jackman and Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark, and you know, even Chris Evans as Captain America is going to be really hard.
How to make the character work and then giving him a fitting send-off in Logan, did we really want to risk trampling on that legacy with a goofy comedy that might well crash and burn? And could a 55-year-old Hugh Jackman really get himself back into Wolverine shape, considering he was already noticeably showing his age in Logan 6 years earlier? Also, and this is the biggie, what were the chances that we'd get to see a proper R-rated, foul-mouthed Deadpool movie within the crushingly safe, family-friendly MCU framework? Could such a thing actually happen, or would we end up with just another bland, neutered, depressingly formulaic Marvel movie that happened to be wearing a Deadpool skin suit? Well, we got our first hints about how the movie's shaping up during the Super Bowl last night with the first trailer for Deadpool and Wolverine. Yup, they really want you to know that Wolverine's going to be in this one.
That's what I said.
Anyway, I digress. So we pick up with Wade Wilson, who's enjoying a nice birthday celebration when suddenly the TVA from Loki show up.
They're trying to make me watch Loki.
Not an amazing start, guys, referencing a TV show that most Deadpool fans probably haven't heard of and totally don't give a shit about. Although it definitely could have been improved massively if Wade had just fucking murdered all of them right there in the hallway. I've got to admit though, this one really did get to me.
You appear to have soiled yourself while unconscious.
I wasn't unconscious.
Finally, I can feel represented on screen. So the gist seems to be that Loki is recruited by the TVA to go off into alternate timelines and complete missions for them, i.e. he's leaving his own reality and travelling across the multiverse, leaving a trail of corpses in his wake. And by the looks of things, he might just run into an old pal along the way. Now, I have to admit, I'm surprised to be saying this about any Marvel product at this point, but this trailer actually looks pretty good.
Yeah,
I like how it kicks off its setup with the kind of pompous, over-the-top dramatic monologue that you'd expect from Marvel trailers, only to switch into full-on Deadpool mode the moment he shows up. There's plenty of action, plenty of blood and gore, plenty of swearing and crude jokes and self-aware humour, and a kind of tacit acknowledgement that the MCU has become stale, predictable and played out, and that a character like Deadpool is exactly what it needs to get jolted back to life. The first step towards solving a problem truly is acknowledging that it even exists, and Deadpool could be the perfect vehicle for the MCU to poke fun at itself in a way that's actually funny and entertaining, instead of whatever the fuck She-Hulk was trying to be. Now, I've spent a lot of time shitting on the multiverse concept recently, because whatever the potential it might have had, it's pretty obvious that
I've been watching Critical Drinker and everybody else shitting on the multiverse, and the thing is about the multiverse is, I agree it's overplayed as hell right now, but it can be done well. It can be used well. Like, look at Rick and Morty. They use it all the time. I know it's a comedy and it's not to be taken very seriously, but the multiverse can work even in a serious sense. They just overuse it. I think that's the only issue, and they use it for the wrong things. You know, they use it just to as a cop out sometimes when they need to just use it to tell a deep story. Use it to explain loss. I don't want to go into the whole episode of Rick and Morty where Morty has to he replaces his family with a new one, and and the existential crisis of doing that, like, that's interesting, but just replacing them and nothing happens is weird, like, and then it's just a cop out.
In the hands of lazy Marvel writers, it's devolved into a consequence-free sandbox where nothing matters anymore. Every character exists in a quantum state of being infinitely alive and dead, and for the most part it's just a lame excuse to work in some cheap cameos from other, better movies. And that definitely still holds true for films that at least pretend to be telling a serious story, but weirdly I think Deadpool might be the perfect way of tackling it. Because it's not bound by the same constraints as other Marvel films, it can truly cut loose and just have fun with the concept, throwing in all kinds of weird and wonderful variations on classic characters with no real concern.
But Multiverse of Madness turned out to be not that creative, not that experimental that we thought it was going to be, and I hope they don't make the same mistake with Deadpool.
About long-term repercussions. If you really have to do multiverses, I guess what I'm saying is this is probably the way to do it. Now, all of that being said, I'm going to go into this with a kind of wary optimism here, because as much as this has the superficial appearance of a Deadpool movie, I'm still not entirely convinced that it's going to be allowed to play out as one. There's lots about the MCU to make fun of these days, and I don't doubt that Ryan Reynolds is very aware of the problems in the franchise, but I do have to wonder how far he'll actually be allowed to go with this one. I mean, just imagine it for a second. Disney Marvel using the convenient framing device of a fictional character to openly poke fun at their own worst tendencies. The convoluted storylines, the forgotten plot points, the MCU, the endless political pandering and tediously predictable storylines.
If Deadpool talks about the MCU in a negative way, I'll be shocked. I'll be shocked if Deadpool does that.
Bit too far with all this stuff, but we see that now and we're working to fix it. Yeah, I don't really see that happening either. Ultimately though, despite these misgivings, I can't say I'm too unhappy about what I've seen here. The trailer looks decent enough. The novelty of finally seeing Jackman and Reynolds reunited on screen is definitely going to be a crowd pleaser, and as one of the only high-profile superhero movies coming out this year, I think Deadpool 3 is probably going to do well at the box office, from sheer lack of competition if nothing else. Is it going to reinvigorate the tired MCU and usher in a new age of violent, edgy, R-rated superhero movies? Probably not. If I had to guess, I'd say it's probably going to follow a similar pattern to Guardians 3, a movie with decent financial returns and good audience reception that can't really be exploited further down the line, and ultimately nothing more than a blip that does nothing to change the MCU's overall
that
trajectory.
Sound like what's gonna happen.
Hey, at least it's something to look forward to in an otherwise bleak summer movie season. You've got the drinker's interest, Deadpool. Just try not to fuck it up now. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.
Yeah, Drinker said it all, man. Like, it's basically gonna be like Guardians 3. That's what it feels like it's gonna be. It's gonna just be like, oh, this was pretty good. In a pile of shit, there is some gold in there a little bit, you know. But will it change everything? I don't think so. I hope it does, but they'd have to do some universe bending shit, which looks like it wants to do with the whole TVA crap. I haven't watched Loki season 1 and 2. I don't think this is going to get me to watch it. If it's really good and the TVA do some big thing, maybe I'll watch Loki season 2, because I heard Loki season 2 is actually alright. Season 1, I got bored. I tried to watch episode 1. Anyway, so yeah, I'm hoping Deadpool and Wolverine do good. I'm looking forward to seeing what Wolverine does in the film. Hope there's some callbacks to classic X-Men animated series, because they look so accurate to the source material, and I hope Wolverine's arms get to come out, you know. Looks more classic, look more like the classic Wolverine with the yellow sleeves are a bit weird. But anyway, that's my reaction to Drinker's reaction of Deadpool and Wolverine. If you liked it, please give me a like, subscribe, hit the notification bell for notifications, and I'll see you again soon. Peace.